Tonight, the coastal cost of living crisis. We're in scenic Fife, often considered a tourism hotspot, but some locals say they're losing out.
Spend loads and loads of money in St Andrews, which is a really big tourist destination anyway. Just come along the coast a wee bit, spend your money here, help the people that really need it.
We hear how the £400 payment towards your energy bill will help and what the Scottish and UK governments are doing to ease the crisis.
Also making the headlines, the first national telecom strike in 35 years. Thousands of BT and Openreach workers walk out in a row over pay. And Team Scotland pick up their first gold as the Commonwealth Games get underway. I'm John Mackay in Glasgow.
And I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Fife. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening, live from Ely in Fife as we wrap up our cost of living road trip. All week we've been hearing your stories on how this crisis is impacting on your life through rising food prices right through to family struggles. Fuel and energy costs, another big issue. That's what you've been telling us. Some help on the horizon with that through a £400 payment towards your energy bill from the UK government. We'll have details on that very shortly. We'll also hear from the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon. Well, we've travelled coast to coast across the Central Belt. We started our journey in Inverclyde on Monday. Then we travelled to Glasgow. We then moved to Falkirk, followed by Edinburgh. And tonight we're here in sunny Fife. Well, the East Neuk is known for its beautiful coastline and is a popular tourist destination. Little wonder there are so many second homes here which are sought after, especially over the summer months. Most of the homes here in Ely, for example, are booked out by holidaymakers looking to make the most of this stunning scenery. And isn't it just remarkable? Well, a lot of money is brought into this area through tourism, and I'm pleased to see that the Assistant Manager of the Ship Inn, where we're broadcasting from tonight, joins us now. Ollie, thanks for speaking to us. How reliant are you on tourists?
We're extremely reliant here. Through the winter period, it's not so busy here at the Ship Inn and in the village, but come April, there is a humongous influx of tourists. And we'd love as many of them as possible to come around and, use our wonderful beer garden here and use our free beach facilities here. It's great for the community because the tourists give back to the locals, and we do that as well. This Sunday we're giving back to the community as we're holding a beach ball tournament, and with some of that money we'll be giving all of it back to the Dundee University Parkinson's Foundation.
All right, and we are here to talk about the cost of living crisis. Many people are opting for a staycation rather than going abroad. Is that something that you've noticed here?
Well, I've been coming to the village since I was a young boy with my family on holiday. I now I live and work in the village. Post-COVID, I've never seen Ely and Fife so busy.
It is buzzing.
It's absolutely great to see everyone coming down here. And I almost wish it was like this all year round, but no, it's great to see everyone down here, and when the sun shines, Ely's full.
All right, well look, thanks very much for joining us, Ollie. Well, clearly a lot of money is brought to these parts through tourism, but it's a completely different story just a few miles down the coast. Well, our reporter Kay Nicholson has been to a community project in Leven to speak to locals there about how they're faring during this current climate.
This Bingo Buddies session in Leven offers companionship to older people. They're welcomed with a cuppa, a bite to eat and a bit of friendly competition.
Anytime!
For all of us, the rising cost of living is also a numbers game, but it's anything but fun.
My husband, he's hoping to retire this year. He's 64, but he's always had a heavy job and he's tired. And I would love him to retire this year. We don't know if we're going to be rethinking it or not because of the cost of living now.
There's a lot under one roof at Together Levenmouth. A cafe, gift shop, crazy golf and escape rooms. The charity behind it has been a lifeline for Marie, who feels trapped in poverty. Her rent is covered by housing benefit and she works part-time in a pub. She says she can't afford to work full-time.
I would have to work 50 hours a week and I wouldn't be able to afford childcare, I would never see my daughter, I would be exhausted and I would probably still be skint. At least if I work part-time I can be there for my daughter and I know my rent's paid. I might get less money than I would if it was on benefits, but I feel better about working for my money than I do sitting in the house taking it for nothing. You've either got nothing or you've got everything. There's nothing, there's no in between anymore, and it's just hard for the people that are really struggling.
And that's something acutely felt on this stretch of the Fife coast, especially in the wake of the Open.
You see the helicopters flying about, you know that there's lots of famous and powerful people going along to St Andrews to spend loads and loads of money in St Andrews, which is a really big tourist destination anyway. Just come along the coast a wee bit, spend your money here, help the people that really need it.
But there are reasons to be optimistic. Work is underway to reinstate the Leavenmouth railway line, mothballed almost 50 years ago.
That is massive, that for prospects, for youngsters, you know what I mean, they're not going to get their qualifications and then move away. What we need to do is try and keep those kids here that have got those kind of qualifications, that have got the trades behind them, and make them want to stay. Make Fife that place that they want to live in.
With the community pulling together, locals hope the area's on track for a brighter future. Kay Nicholson, STV News, Leven.
So Kay's report there highlighting huge disparities between different communities. That's just here in Fife, but we know through our road trip that many other communities and the people who live within them suffer real inequality. And the worry is that with this cost of living crisis, that gap will widen. Well, our survey carried out by Scott Pulse for STV News has found that the majority of you believe that the UK and Scottish governments need to do more. So we have our political correspondent Ewan Peachy here with us tonight. Ewan, thanks for joining us. We've heard some more from the UK government about this help with energy bills.
Yeah, this is the £400 that all households will be receiving in the autumn, when we're expecting those energy bills to be increasing once again. And today we heard that it will be paid in instalments from October, 6 instalments worth around £66 each time. And if you pay by direct debit, that money will be coming off automatically. How you receive it actually depends on how you pay your bills. So direct debit payers will see it come off automatically, but that's not the case for those on the older prepayment meters. For them, they will be receiving vouchers, and charities have raised concerns already that might make it harder for them to access that money, and some people might even lose out on this. Now, since this was announced back in May, the forecast for the energy price rise has changed. We're actually now facing even more eye-watering increases come the autumn, and potentially again in January. So I asked the Scotland Office Minister Ian Stewart if he believed whether the UK government was doing enough right now to help those struggling the most.
A couple of weeks ago, there was the first of two £325 payments through the universal credit system. The second one comes in the autumn. Also in the autumn will be the £400 discount on everyone's fuel bill. The council tax support has already been paid to most people. The increase in the national insurance threshold will start coming through in people's monthly pay packet. So a lot of the measures, although they were announced a little while ago, are now starting to come into effect.
A lot of that help simply isn't touching the sides for a lot of families who are seeing their energy bills soar at a time that their wages are stagnating, their benefits are maybe being cut as well. So isn't there more that could be done in terms of addressing national insurance, the minimum wage, VAT on energy bills right now?
Over the period now, we will be looking at what additional support might be required. So we don't know exactly how this is going to play out, but we need to have that agility to respond when necessary. And as I say, if you look at our record during the pandemic, that's what we did, and we'll continue to do that.
And what about the Scottish Government? What help are they offering you?
Well, the Scottish Government has repeatedly said that it's spending around £3 billion on helping people. But today there was some independent analysis which questioned that figure, saying, look, Some of the measures that you've listed there actually predate this crisis, but the First Minister argues, well, she's doing everything that she can within the limited powers that she has. She has to work within a fixed budget, but one area where she does have control is public sector pay. So I asked Nicola Sturgeon whether she would increase the pay of some of those on the lowest incomes in Scotland.
The money to pay for public sector pay deals comes from that effectively fixed budget that the Scottish Government operates within. That is largely set by decisions taken at Westminster, so that doesn't escape that hard reality. If we are to increase the overall budget for local government or any other significant part of the areas that the Scottish Government is responsible for, without robbing Peter to pay Paul, we need to see the overall size of the funding envelope increase, and I don't have the powers, my government doesn't have the powers to do that unilaterally.
So there is nothing you can do to increase that offer to care workers, to school workers, to cleaners?
Well, you're talking about pay deals right now, which I've said we are, well, in terms of COSLA, they are the employer, local government are the employers of teachers and care workers. Of course we will continue to talk to COSLA about how we can best support fairness there, just as we are supporting fairness for the NHS and other public sector workers. I am not, and nothing I have said in this interview, if it is fairly represented, has been saying that I don't take my responsibility to do as much as possible seriously. But it is only a representation of the factual position to say that there are serious constraints and limitations on the Scottish Government's access to resources.
And there are constraints in what any government can do, Ewan.
Yeah, a lot of this crisis is being driven by events out with the control of any government, the war in Ukraine, for example. So the focus has to be on mitigation. But already we're seeing a growing anger among workers who've seen their wages stagnating for many, many years now. And the worrying thing about all of this is we're still in the early stages of this crisis.
It really is. OK, Ewan, thanks very much for joining us. Well, don't forget, there's much more on our website. On there, there's a whole array of cost of living features. Do check them out. Always worth a read. I'll be back later in the programme, but for now, I'm going to hand you back to John for the rest of the day's news and sport.
Thanks, Kellyanne. For the first time in 35 years, BT workers are on strike. Around 6,000 call centre staff and open reach engineers across Scotland have walked out in the first national telecom strike since 1987. It follows failed pay negotiations. The business awarded workers £1,500, which they say isn't enough to curb the rising costs of living. BT reported £5.1 billion in profits yesterday. Vanessa Taff reports.
The workers, united, will never be defeated.
BT employees down tools today, taking to the streets across the country, demanding a pay rise in line with inflation. For frontline staff like Shannon, just getting to work is a struggle.
Frankly, not normal for people my age as a young worker to not have any money left 2 weeks from payday, to not even be able to afford to get a train into the office, struggle to buy food. It's not normal for food banks to be set up in call centres for your colleagues to be able to afford to eat at the end of the month.
It's an historic day not only for these BT workers who were last on strike 35 years ago, but for call centre workers. 9,000 of them across the UK are on strike today for the very first time. Yesterday, the telecoms giant reported profits of £5.1 billion. After pay talks with the union fell through, frontline staff have been given a £1,500 pay rise.
The door cannot be closed on this. I mean, you can see the workers, a massive mandate across the piece of people willing to give up days of pay to make sure that they get what they deserve. You cannot possibly think that it makes sense to leave those people who made those profits possible, to leave them without a fair pay rise.
£700 million given to shareholders. Our CEO gave himself a 32% pay rise, upwards of about 3.5 million he's now on. Our people just want what's fair. You know, if we're seeing inflation potentially get up to 11.8%, we're getting a fraction of that percentage.
BT maintain there will be no further pay talks for the rest of the year and that this is their final offer. Workers are planning a further strike on Monday. Vanessa Taff, STV News, Glasgow.
Other stories across Scotland, and detectives are appealing for information following an attempted murder in Edinburgh. A 24-year-old man suffered serious injuries after being deliberately knocked off his motorbike by a black Fiat on Ferry Road Drive yesterday afternoon. Officers believe this was a targeted attack. A murder investigation is underway following the death of a woman from Dunoon. Mary Doherty died in hospital on Tuesday after being seriously injured during a disturbance at a flat on John Street in the Argyll town in the early hours of Saturday. A 43-year-old man and a 40-year-old woman have been arrested and charged in connection with the incident. The Scottish Conservative MSP Sandesh Gulhani has written to the Holyrood Health, Social Care and Sport Committee to seek a parliamentary inquiry into the Cricket Scotland racism report. On Monday, the governing body of the sport in Scotland was deemed institutionally racist. The number of people estimated to have COVID in Scotland has fallen for the first time in 8 weeks. The Office for National Statistics said 1 in 19 people in the country was estimated to have had the virus in the week to July 20th. This was down from 1 in 15 the previous week. A cruise ship in Edinburgh is being used as temporary accommodation to house Ukrainian refugees. The ship has been chartered by the Scottish Government as a solution to the growing accommodation crisis which prompted a pause to the Ukrainian refugee sponsorship scheme. The first group have now boarded the MS Victoria in Leith, and Vanessa Kennedy was there.
These are some of the first Ukrainians to start their new lives aboard this ship. And in these uncertain times, a warm welcome in their mother tongue helped put them at ease. There are 739 rooms on board, and the ship will house up to 1,700 refugees. Polituka was a teacher in Ukraine. She says the situation back home made her terrified for her family's future.
It was like a mother instinct to go away from this war, from this territory, and so we are here. We have enough space to live, to sleep, and so on. So now everything is very good.
60% of the crew are Ukrainian nationals, including the manager Konstantin.
Everything that they are experiencing, everything that they are running away from, I did the same with my family. So for me, it's I'm ready to help. So with full, all my soul, all my heart, I put in it. So that's something very special for me.
The ship provides meals and there's access to help with benefits, healthcare and employment. And so far, the new surroundings are going down well.
Everyone is so nice, and the crew is really helpful. They're really thoughtful. Just amazing.
And food is a key. Food is amazing.
Very good. Personal, perfect.
I feel warmth from everyone, it's so,
It's been a welcoming city both to Syrian, to Afghanistan and now to Ukrainian refugees, and we'll continue to do everything we can to make sure that when people choose this to be their home, that we can do everything we can to make it the best experience that we can.
There'll be around 100 Ukrainians moving in here every day, and while the intention is for this to be a temporary housing solution, for many this is now what they'll call home. Vanessa Kennedy, STV News, Edinburgh.
Ronnie is here with the sport, and there's plenty happening.
There always is, John.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Yes, good evening. Scotland's Commonwealth Games have got off to a golden start in Birmingham, with Neil Fackie and Lewis Stewart winning the men's 1,000-metre tandem event at the Velodrome. Earlier, Beth Potter won Scotland's first medal of the Games, saying it was a very special moment to clinch it in front of her family. From Birmingham, here's Chris Harvey.
Yes, it's been a brilliant start to the Games here in Birmingham for Team Scotland, up and running on the medal table already, with hopefully many, many more to come. Triathlete Beth Potter, well, she got a huge ovation here in the city centre after she crossed the line for bronze.
It was really, really nice feeling, and yeah, just so happy to do it here in Birmingham, and it's not far from home, and got a lot of family here who've come from London or from Glasgow to watch, and friends, so it's really good to do it in front of a home crowd.
What a day it's been already for Scotland. Well, there's plenty more chances for medals tonight and over the weekend. Commonwealth and Olympic gold medalist Duncan Scott goes in the pool in the 200 metre freestyle and 400 metre individual medley. There's more rugby sevens for the men and women this weekend, and Scotland's netball team, well, they start with a really tough test against Australia. This is definitely the friendly games, the welcome as warm as the weather, and we've only just begun. Back to you.
Well, the football season is back tomorrow, but we already have our first managerial casualty. Within the last hour, Motherwell have confirmed Graham Alexander has left his position as manager with immediate effect. The departure comes after the Steelmen crashed out of the Europa Conference League at the hands of Sligo Rovers. In a statement, the club said Alexander asked for a meeting with the board and there was an agreement things had to change. This was Alexander speaking after last night's defeat in Ireland.
It's as disappointing as you can get. I think we worked so hard for 10, 11 months last season to get to this level and this stage. For it to end so abruptly is a massive disappointment for us. There's no hiding away from the fact. There's so much to look forward to this season, but we also need to understand that we have to improve in certain aspects of the game.
Well, the show must go on, and the Premiership is back, with Celtic looking to retain their title and a new-look Rangers team trying to dethrone them. Elsewhere, St Mirren will look to improve from their poor start in the League Cup, and new boys Kilmarnock make their top flight return. Ange Postecoglou arrived in Scotland and immediately delivered success. The Premiership title returned to Glasgow's East End. With a few new faces and no major exits this summer, Celtic fans are gearing up for Champions League football and a title defence.
Sunday's kind of the final day when we can sort of recognise the fantastic achievements of every one of our, sort of representing our football club, and a good way to then begin the new season and sort of the new adventure that awaits.
Giovanni Van Bronckhorst will enjoy his first full season at Ibrox. Big-name departures of Calvin Bassey and Joe Aribo were matched by no fewer than 7 new signings. After the Europa League final and a Scottish Cup win, what will this season hold for Rangers?
Next year we want to be champions of Scotland again. We didn't last year, so we start all over again, and we have to make sure we have a good start.
St Mirren crashed out of the League Cup in the group stages this summer. Manager Stephen Robinson gets his first pre-season as Buddy's boss and has recruited a number of experienced players like Declan Gallagher, Trevor Carson and Mark O'Hara.
First and foremost, you have to try and make sure you're in the division. That has to be, clubs of our size, that has to be their first and foremost aim. And then within the dressing room, we've got other ambitions. We know we've got a good squad.
And fresh from their championship title win last season, Derek McInnes guides his Kilmarnock team back into the top flight. With a manager who knows what it takes to win in the Premiership and an impressive start in the League Cup, where do Kelly see their ambitions this season?
Probably more eagerly anticipated than maybe the last couple of times out for Kilmarnock, because it got taken away from us for a while for a season there. But now we're back in it. We don't want to just feel that the new boys going up and enjoying the surroundings.
And these are your Premiership fixtures this weekend. It all starts with Rangers' trip to Livingston tomorrow lunchtime. It's Hearts v Ross County, Kilmarnock welcome Dundee United, St Johnstone host Hibs, and on Sunday St Mirren take on Motherwell before champion Celtic start their title defence at home to Aberdeen. Feels like we've never been away. Well, last bit of news, Celtic chairman Ian Bankier is to retire at the end of the season. Bankier joined the club in the summer of 2011 and became chairman later that year. That's all your sport. Have a very good weekend.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Now the weather with Laura Piper.
Today's outlook is becoming more and more unsettled. Blue Hotels, sponsor STV Weather.
Well, we've made it to the end of the week, the final countdown to the weekend. And after a really lovely sunny day today for most of us, I'm afraid some unsettled conditions to come tonight. As that high pressure moves off, you can see behind me this band of rain just bubbling in there from the west. Quite persistently heavy at times. Those wind speeds really quite gusty, 30 to 35 miles per hour off the west coast. Temperatures, though, we're clinging on to those double figures, around 16 degrees in Glasgow, around 14 degrees into Lanark. Now, as we go through into Saturday morning, we are still seeing some of those heavy showers just as that band moves through out towards the North Sea. But we'll start to see some patches appearing in the clouds, some sunshine coming through, and by the afternoon, a better outlook. Still a little bit cloudy there in the west compared to the east, but temperatures still rising nicely. We could see as much as 19 degrees there in Glasgow. Again, a little cooler the further west and with some of that cloud cover too. By Sunday, a pretty dry outlook for most. We're looking again at around 18 to 19 degrees. A fresher feel to things and maybe the odd shower here and there. Best of the sunshine again a little bit further north. Monday, a cloudy outlook. Temperatures around 19 degrees. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels, sponsor STV Weather.
Well, that's all from me in the studio. I'll say goodnight and hand you back to Kellyanne, who is always going to make it down to the beach.
I sure have, John. I'm just really making the most of it while I can. Well, that's us now finished our road trip. We have travelled coast to coast to hear your stories on how this crisis is impacting on your life. In Inverclyde, we heard from Fiona about her worries that the community garden she relies on could suffer if funding is squeezed. In Glasgow, we learned why our daily bread, potato scones and even Empire biscuits are costing more. We spoke to coffee shop owner Louise in Falkirk Town Centre. She told us she worries it will be the energy costs that could kill her business and not the pandemic. Yesterday we travelled to Edinburgh, where we followed a family trip to the beach. That was through a project which was geared up to help local families through these tough times. And here we are today, finishing in Fife. Thank you to everybody who took the time to speak to us. It's important we tell your stories. But from all of us here on the ground in Fife and our newsrooms, it's good night from us and have a super weekend. Bye-bye.